Good morning, my name is Jared Cisneros. I'm the project manager for the Climate Ready Landscape Plants project. Today we're hosting the first open house event in Utah. The project started in 2020. Our goal is to evaluate landscape plants in 6 different trial sites over 5 western states to identify low water use plants for landscapes in both those individual states, and also to try and understand what plants may work in all regions. There are trial sites in Davis, California, Irvine, California, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Logan, Utah, and Tucson, Arizona. When I go through and I rate our field in Davis and everyone at my counterparts in each of the sites, they will evaluate the plants once per month and determine the foliage quality, floral quantity, disease resistance, pest resistance, vigor, and the overall appearance, which is how the plant is performing as a whole.
So I'm Hattie Ann Fassold. I work for the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. I'm in charge of the demonstration gardens, and then I teach the conservation classes as well. Being here, it's awesome to see these kind of demonstrations of different plants, because we have our own garden that we're trying to showcase a bunch of plants that will work in our area. And so even just the roses here, it's awesome to see the different ones that they have and how they're doing with the different water. Because we're finding in our own demonstration garden that roses don't need as much water as people think.
You know, water in urban landscapes is always critical. It's one of the places where we think that we can save a lot of water, but we don't have a lot of data. There's a lot of anecdotal information about how much water plants use, but there's not a lot of science-based, research-based information. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to collect that data. In California, there are regulations, state regulations, where when a new landscape or a renovated landscape of a certain size and specifications are installed, that the landscape has to, an estimate of the water use for that landscape has to be calculated. And in order to do that calculation, you need to know what the specific water use is of the plants that are in those landscapes. But that number of that water use doesn't exist for a lot of plants. So that's what one of the purposes of this project is, to develop irrigation recommendations for these plants to be able to comply with those California regulations. But then that information is also useful around other states because it tells us how much water these plants really use. For example, everybody thinks that roses are a high water use plants, but we found that a lot of roses can perform really well at 20% of reference CT, which is a really low water rate.
I'm Zach Roberts. I'm the conservation coordinator at Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. And yeah, we're just here looking at the plants, and this is a great opportunity for us to be able to see what is available in plant resources and be able to make recommendations to people who come and ask us for advice. So this is great.
For agronomic crops, there's a more easily measurable metric for agronomic crops. For example, if you're assessing water use efficiency of crop, the metric might be pounds of product produced per gallon of water used. And that's a pretty easily comparable number between, let's say, plant species or cultivars if you're comparing cultivar production or water use efficiencies. For landscape plants, that metric doesn't exist. It's a qualitative measure, so we have to borrow and develop the rubric to assess plant performance, and it's based on appearance. So it's a qualitative measure that's more difficult to compare plant to plant.